Welcome back to Lion Recaps. Today I am going to explain a science fiction action movie called Fortress. The film opens in a futuristic Canada where the government has banned second births to control the population. No woman is allowed to bear a second child even if her first child dies. At border stations in Canada and the USA under heavy security, people are informed to bring their luggage to the office for checking. Ex-Army officer John Henry and his wife Karen are in a car that is being checked and both seem to be upset during the check. When Karen moves her arm in distress, a magnetic vest appears that she is wearing inside her overcoat. From the magnetic vest, we learn that Karen is pregnant and that the two are heading to Vancouver for the secret birth of their second child. After the birth of the first child, Karen's tubes were tied by the government, but Karen was lucky and became pregnant again. While this magnetic vest is worn to hide her pregnancy, when she is at the checking center, the soldiers order her to get out of the car with her belongings. While a soldier is checking Karen's bag, a girl in front of them is arrested for being pregnant. But as Karen passes through the scanning machine, the magnetic vest prevents her from alerting the guards, and the two safely exit. But suddenly a soldier notices Karen's vest and the alarms start ringing and the soldiers move in to arrest her. But John fights them off and escapes with Karen to cross the bridge. As the soldiers chase after them, John tells Karen to flee there without him, and Karen reluctantly agrees. John is soon arrested but Karen manages to escape. In the next scene, we see John and other prisoners like him in a heavy vehicle being taken to a prison called the Fortress. It is a high-security prison owned by a private company, the Men-Tel Corporation, because the Fortress prison is in the middle of a huge desert, so it is impossible to escape from the prison. When the prisoners enter the prison, the guards strip them. Then a voice in the background welcomes the prisoners to the fortress. And the TV screen shows a picture of a man who introduces himself as Director Poe, and then the prisoners are brought into a room where each prisoner is implanted with a psychological security intelligence system device inside their stomach. And when someone breaks the prison rules, the device is activated. Poe announced that after the technology was implanted, prisoners who crossed the yellow line on the floor would experience severe abdominal pain. And those who cross the red line will die instantly. Hearing this, one of the prisoners panics and crosses the yellow line, and as soon as he crosses the line, his stomach hurts and he falls to the ground. Due to the intensity of the pain, he accidentally crosses the red line, causing the man's stomach to swell and eventually burst. After that, the other prisoners are put in the elevator which takes them underground. Here we know that the underground of this prison is 30 floors. John and a fellow inmate, Nino Gomez, are transported to their floor and greeted by a monitoring device. Called Z10, he leads them to an overcrowded prison cell. One of the inmates there, Stiggs, shouted in protest to Z10 that there were already too many people in the cell. But instead of obeying him, Z10 threatens to give him a stomach ache. Inside the cell is a laser beam that prevents inmates from going out unless necessary. John introduces himself to a prisoner in the cell named D-Day. As they were about to sleep, a third prisoner named Abraham tells John not to dream while he sleeps. After everyone goes to sleep, Z10 comes to check on the prisoners. So John is dreaming, he scans John's face and goes into his dream. Then we are shown that John is dreaming of making love with Karen. In the monitoring room of his office, when prison director Poe watches John's dream on the screen, he falls in love with Karen. He wakes John up and reminds him that dreaming is an illegal thought process not allowed in prison. As punishment, a device in John's stomach is activated, causing him to suffer severe abdominal pain that forces him to scream. The next day, the prisoners are brought to work in an underground construction where a gay inmate named Maddox sexually assaults Nino. John comes forward to save Nino and fights Maddox. Immediately, the Z10 stops the fuss by activating the device in the abdomen. The three are later placed in a small laser cell and asked who started the fight first. Because Nino is so scared of Maddox, he is afraid to tell the truth. To save Nino, John lies that he started the fight himself. He is then taken to Poe's office, where Abraham is shaving him. Poe shows John a live video of Karen taking a shower. From this, we learn that Karen was also arrested after John's arrest and was also brought to prison. As punishment, Poe activates the device, causing both Karen and John to suffer together. Abraham later tells John that floors A and B have women's quarters so Karen can be there too. We then see Karen talking to a fellow pregnant girl in her cell as two guards take her away as her stomach hurts. Everyone in the women's quarters is pregnant, then Karen realizes that something must be wrong with their newborn children in this prison. In the men's quarters, Maddox picks up the fight with John again and the two get into a heated battle as everyone in the prison looks on. Poe is enjoying the fight from his cabin. Karen also watches her husband from the floor and is surprised. During the fight, John pushed Maddox off the edge, but instead of falling, he hung on to him. Poe orders John to kill Maddox, but John disobeys his orders and helps him. Poe takes matters into his own hands and uses a weapon to kill Maddox, which rips open his entire stomach and holes it. John finds the device in Maddox's abdomen on the floor and secretly hands it to Nino before the guards take him away. In the next scene, Karen is taken to a room where John is suspended in a large machine called a mind wipe chamber. Poe sends him to ask John to cooperate with them. They talk for a while, but the guards soon drag him out. The machine begins to accompany John and hallucinates him as punishment for disobeying Director Poe's order to kill Maddox. John's mind slowly begins to break as he relives his time in the army, his wedding day, and various events. After 3 days, Poe calls Karen into his chamber and is surprised that John has been on the machine for so long. While till date anyone has been able to run on this machine for a maximum of 1 hour. He makes an offer to Karen that he will commute John's sentence if she lives with him as his roommate. Having no other choice, Karen agrees. When John returns to his cell, his brain is completely dead and he can neither speak to anyone nor feel any pain. Karen has started living with Poe and one night she wakes up to find Poe sitting in a chair with lots of wires attached to his body. Karen discovers that she was made into an advanced human who neither sleeps nor eats but takes amino acids once a month. As is the case with all children born in the prison, they undergo a series of procedures to transform into advanced humans. So that one day mankind can be free from overpopulation and starvation, and Poe was one of the first children to be experimented on, and Karen is shocked by this information. In the next scene, we see that 4 months have passed and John still hasn't recovered. Abraham tells him that Karen's belly is finally showing and her child will soon be born into the world, but John does not react, but sheds a single tear. One night, Karen tricks Poe into drinking alcohol, causing him to lose consciousness. She uses the control panel to control John's dream, in which she sees John trapped in a pit as a child. She pulls him out of the pit and brings a real John back to consciousness. John asks Abraham to help him escape from prison with Karen. Abraham is upset but agrees to do it for John anyway. Abraham tells Karen about John's recovery and she is thrilled to hear that his plan worked. She claims that she can help John escape and begins to develop a plan. Nino later hands John the device he retrieved from Maddox's body. His prisoner friend, D-Day, who used to be a computer expert before coming to prison, offers to take the device apart and study it. Next, we see Karen steal a diamond-like holographic lens from Poe's cabin. She is almost caught but manages to hide the diamond in her mouth. She gives the diamond to Abraham the next day and tells him to give it to John. Abraham doesn't want to get into trouble but accepts it as a favor. They use the cell's protective laser beam to activate the lens and see the prison's hologram. So they discover that there is a way out of the construction site. The next morning, Abraham puts the lens back in Poe's cabin. Poe asks Karen to divorce John and marry him, claiming that he will keep the child as his own and promises to free John. Karen reluctantly accepts his offer while D-Day explains how the in-body device works. The device is magnetic and can be used to extract devices from other people's bodies. They try the procedure and are surprised when it works. They all remove all the devices from their bodies. The next day, Poe is alerted by Z10 to look at security camera footage where he sees Karen stealing the lens and Abraham putting it back. He is furious to find that he has been betrayed, but Z10 tells him that he has been fired for his carelessness. Meanwhile, John and his colleagues put their plan into action by attaching their devices to metal pipes in a construction site and pretending they are fighting. As soon as Z10 becomes aware of the fight, he activates the devices that cause the pipe to explode with a loud explosion. The explosion allows them to escape through the pipes, but Poe opens the steam valves and releases hot gas into the pipes to trap them. He also activates the strike clones who start firing at the group escaping from the prison. they are now trapped in a pipe. Seeing all this, a prisoner named Stiggs panics and tries to get back inside the prison, but the clones shoot him dead. Meanwhile, Abraham visits Karen in Poe's chamber, but Poe finds them before he can do anything. He kills Abraham and hands Karen over to some doctors who take her child to transform her into a modern human like Poe. Meanwhile, they manage to kill a clone and learn that he is also an advanced human. John takes his gun and attacks the other clones, they fight the clones and end up inside the prison. Finally, they manage to climb onto an elevator-like machine that takes them up. Everyone in the prison rejoices to see them escape. They finally arrive at Poe's chamber and demand to see Karen. The screen shows the doctors trying to get her baby out. John tells Poe to stop the delivery immediately, threatening to kill him, but since he has been fired, the system does not take his command. One of the automatic killing devices recognizes the escaping prisoners and tries to shoot them. But they quickly outwit him by bringing Poe in front of him and making him his victim. After Poe's death, D-Day arrives at the control panel and tries to stop the doctors from delivering to Karen. But before he can complete this difficult task, a clone shoots him, to which John shoots and kills the clone. And an injured D-Day presses a button with the last of his strength to disable the entire prison's electrical system. Due to this, the doctors stop the delivery immediately, the security system fails, and all the prisoners start running away from there. John and Nino are the only survivors. They go to find Karen and take her away from the doctors. The three get into a vehicle and eventually escape from the prison, stopping only when they cross the border into Mexico. Karen is about to give birth in a shed when suddenly the vehicle in which the trio had driven to reach here starts moving automatically. This indicates that the vehicle is still being controlled by the advanced system control device Z10. The vehicle chases Nino and crushes him to death. John goes outside to fight the vehicle as Karen is in agony inside the shed. John attacks the vehicle with a pre-existing weapon and detonates it. But the vehicle hit the shed and Karen was saved from being crushed in the wreckage of the vehicle. Distraught, John searches for his wife and is happy to find her safe nearby. Karen holds a newborn baby in her arms and the film ends with the two staring intently at their baby. Subscribe for more videos like this, turn on the notification, and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.